My name is Thomas Quigley and I'm 36 years of age, totally blind, and I've been blind for the past 26 years.
Do you think campaigning has led to positive change?
Unfortunately the campaigns appear to be the same now as they were 10 years ago when I was involved in working, and in some ways that's a reflection on how slow things are in changing in society. It does. I know it takes time, believe me, I worked it, so I know how long it takes, but there's certain things that haven't changed that, in my opinion, are, if not easy wins, they are certainly winnable within 10 years.
And what would they be?
Well, I'll give you an example. The first would be having information from the health service sent to you in a way you can read it. Now, I'm sorry, I am not hugely technologically advanced, but even I know that is possible in this day and age.
And in terms of, I just want to ask you a thing about places. For instance, disabled people in Britain, a number of them, more militant people, would have chained themselves to buses, had public demonstrations, the same in America. That largely didn't happen here, Thomas. Why do you think that is? Why in Northern Ireland, north of Ireland, why did the campaigns not go onto the streets?
Historically, or in recent times?
Yeah, both I guess, historically and recently.
Well, historically, because you're afraid of getting shot,
right,
if you're on the street.
So a Troubles effect?
I think so. I think people were more concerned about just keeping your head down and getting on with it. Unfortunately, there was more serious matters going on, which involved, conflicts and fighting and shootings and bombings and things. So I think because of the nature of the politics, that there wasn't as much joined up thinking or working, and when you're working in a campaigning role, and when you have a disability, you don't have a disability and it's connected to one aspect of the community or another. You have a disability, and that's all that matters. So I think there's more cooperation in terms of people working together now. But there's also the element of and I think it's a cultural thing. It's just like, oh sure, it's all right. It'll do. We get by. We get up. There's not. We don't really have a very militant sort of campaigning ethos here. We are very much of, oh, shouldn't make a fuss, don't be saying, look, it's alright, we'll get by, and that is the case. So, I think we have to try and encourage people to campaign, in a stronger way, but obviously a completely law-abiding way. Historically, disabled people would have become sort of downtrodden to a certain degree, and in some ways sort of you go, well, what's the point of saying no one ever listens to me anyway? No, that isn't always the case, but it's certainly perception some disabled people would have, and it just comes from the society that you're brought up in, where unfortunately, in a lot of cases, people with disabilities were, if not locked away, they were certainly hidden away to a certain degree. And I suppose, in some ways, that's what it was like going, you were sent off to boarding schools away. That was, yes, I was at boarding school, and it wasn't like, stories I've heard of institutionalized as it was years and years ago, but it still was. You were still away from your own community, your own family, for 5 out of 7 days a week, which will have knock-on effects. But I do think it is. It comes down to the case that disabled people just go, no, sure, no one listens anyway. I do think it's wonderful the work organisations do going in to primary schools, particularly so from a very young age, going in and making kids aware of disabled young people, and I think that can only help. And I think the more of that we have, it'll change attitudes in young people, and that will have a knock-on effect as they get older, because they won't regard their disabled peers as any different, because they've always had disabled peers. And I think the change in education, where you have I'm speaking from blind and partially sighted point of view now, the majority of those young people are in mainstream education settings, I think will have a knock-on effect in a positive way in the future, because again, those young people, they've always been aware of that person, and just they have a particular need for larger print book or assistive technology or something of that. So I do think it will improve with sort of more integration, if you like.
All right.
To the fact that I might have a disability, but don't define me by my disability, define me by my personality.